Are you all excited about going on a cruise on Royal Caribbean? And you're debating whether or not to get their VIP pass, the key, but you don't know if it's worth it? This video is for you, because not only will I give you my opinion, we'll crunch the numbers so that you can make an informed decision. Right after this. Hello, if you're new to this channel, my name is Sean, and my wife Kat and I, for the past 15 years, have been traveling all over the world. And we decided recently to start putting some of those travels here on YouTube. We do weekly long form vlogs. We do shorter travel, like day travel and side travel videos. We do 360-degree video tours. We do walking tours. And we do in-depth videos just like this one. So if that sounds exciting to you, please give us a follow. So, the Royal Caribbean Cruise Line has this program called The Key. It gives you a whole bunch of benefits that sound absolutely amazing on paper, and a lot of people on the internet and on YouTube, I hear say that, and then they always end it with, but it's not worth it. The problem is most of these people are just giving you their personal opinion. They don't actually look at the numbers. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna go through, I'm gonna tell you all the benefits for the key, and we're gonna break down the costs, and at the end, I'll tell you what I think. You'll also be able to know if it's right for you based on the numbers that we show. So let's get to it. All right, let's take a look at the Royal Caribbean's Key program and actually break it down to determine if it's actually worth it. So here are the benefits as Royal Caribbean lists them. These are somewhat summarized, but I'm going to talk about each one in a little bit more detail. You get priority access during the key designated arrival time. So what does that mean? That means the day your ship leaves, the day you go on board, you get to be one of the very first people on the cruise ship. So you go to the cruise terminal, there'll be a sign, or if there's not a sign, there'll be people checking you in, and you simply tell them that you have the key, and they will stick you in a different line or in a different section so that you can check in. The last time Kat and I went on a cruise, as of recording, was Allure of the Seas, and this benefit was amazing because we got there, I said, we're in the key. They said, oh, sir, go in this line. So we did, and we immediately went inside to this waiting area. Well, then it started pouring, and everyone else that wasn't in the key was getting soaked. So it's a nice benefit. You get to go through security first. You get to sit in a special designated area while you're waiting for the ship to be ready. And once it's ready, there's very, very few people that get to board before you if you have the key. The next benefit is you get to drop off your carry-on luggage. So one of the benefits, which is the next one, is that you get a welcome aboard lunch for free. When you go to that lunch, you hand them your carry-on luggage. They will tag it and they will put it in your cabin for you, so you don't have to carry it around the ship. So, for example, Kat and I always bring a carry-on with cameras and stuff, obviously, but we also always bring 2 bottles of wine because your Royal Caribbean allows you to do that. And it's much easier bringing that in your carry-on so that it doesn't get flagged than in your checked bags. As I mentioned, you get an exclusive welcome lunch. So what this welcome lunch is actually a trimmed down menu of the Chops Grill lunch menu. And we'll talk a lot more about that. Well, not a lot, but we'll talk more about that when we get to the cost breakdown. So you basically get a small steak, dessert, and an appetizer. You get private hours for ship activities. So depending on the ship you're on, again, back to Allure of the Seas, there's climbing walls, there's flow riders, there's ice skating, there's zip lines, and so on. All the major activities, there's time slots set aside for key people to go so that you don't have to wait in a line. For example, when we went to go ice skating, Kat and I were the only two people ice skating during the Keys special time. When I went to zipline, I went toward the end of the time that the key people could go. You should have seen the line for people that wanted to do the zip line, and I walked right on, put my harness on, got on it, and zipped away. So you don't have to wait. Same thing with rock climbing. When I went rock climbing, no wait at all. I just went right up, put my harness on, started climbing. So it does have an advantage. However, there are a lot of people that I've seen on YouTube again that say that the activities are only on days that you're in port or at inconvenient times. Well, for us, that wasn't true. Every single thing, like the flow ride or the zip line, the ice skating, the rock climbing wall, all that, every single one of those time periods was actually on a sea day. Now, obviously, if you're on a cruise that doesn't have very many sea days, that might not be the case. But for us, they were all sea days, which was fantastic. You get 20% off all specialty restaurants, but only if you book them on day one. Now, this benefit, in my opinion, is kind of worthless, because if you pre-book all of your specialty dining restaurants and pick what time you want months ahead of time, you pretty much save that amount anyway. And if you're waiting until you get on the ship to pick your specialty dining, I hope you have a dining package, because otherwise you should have done it ahead of time. So we're just gonna kind of skip that one. The next one, and the huge one when you're determining whether or not to get the key, is the free internet, which is their Voom service. This is a Starlink service, and the internet on the ships nowadays is actually quite good. The next benefit is reserved seating at shows. These are the main shows, so not like the comedy club, but everything else. And what that means is you basically, as long as you are 10 minutes or more early, now it doesn't really say this in the description online, but it's been our experience that this is the case. So let's say you arrive 15 minutes before the show. You simply ask, where is the reserved seating? I'm a key member. And you show them your ID. It has the little key on it, and they tell you where it is. And there's an entire section that is guarded by a crewmate, and they will only let certain people in that section. You show them your CPass, and they let you in. And then 10 minutes before the show, they open it up, the remaining seats in that section, to anyone. But before that, you have amazing seats for these shows. It's fantastic. And you don't have to get there early. You can just show up 15 minutes ahead of time and you're going to have a nice seat. Next, priority departure for tender ports of call. So what does that mean? There are some ports, not very many anymore, that the cruise ships do not have a dock to pull up against. And what happens is they hook up to a mooring or anchor in some cases, and the tender is a little vessel that you get on, and they take you into port. So in that case, you get to be one of the first people on the tender. That does not apply to coming back to the ship, however, so you will have to wait in a line to come back to the ship. So this is another one, kind of like the 20% off thing. Very few ships this is going to apply to. And the last thing is you get an end of cruise a la carte breakfast. In other words, instead of standing around not knowing what to do with yourself or trying to fight the crowds in the buffet, you get to go sit down in the main dining room and be served a very nice breakfast. All right, so let's actually look at the numbers. Okay, so these are the 5 upcoming cruises that Kat and I are going on. Radiance of the Sea, Wonder of the Sea, Adventure of the Sea, Symphony of the Sea, and Voyager of the Sea. And next to it, it tells how much it costs per person per day. So for example, the Radiance of the Seas is $35.99 per person per day. The Wonder of the Seas is $43.99 per person per day, and so on. Now, if you look down at the Voyager of the Seas, the reason that is so cheap compared to the rest of them is that's a transatlantic crossing. It's a 15-day cruise, so that's why it's so much cheaper. And this is why I said that I spelled it wrong in here. The VOOM, it must have auto-spell checked it for me. The VOOM internet, if you look at the prices for that, that is how much it is per person per day also. So for example, if you are going on the Radiance of the Seas and you are going to buy the internet for your cabin, you're going to spend $17.99 per person per day on that. And the key is $35.99, which includes the VOOM internet. So the difference is only $18 per person per day. So if you're going to get the internet, you're really only paying $18 per person per day for all the other benefits, and that's it. So for the Wonder of the Seas, the key is $43.99 per person per day. The internet is $25.99 per person per day, so a difference of $18. As you can see, it's somewhere typically between around $15 per person per day. The only exception is, again, the Voyager of the Seas, which is a much longer trip. The internet is $24.99 and the key is $29.99, which is only a difference of $5 per person per day. But don't forget, it's a 15-day cruise. So then let's take a look at the total for the cruise. So in other words, if you are going to get the internet, the total cost for the key program per person is only $126 once you take out the internet. And if you take the CHOPS lunch out, which CHOPS lunch typically runs around $30, that means you have only $96 for the key program for the entire cruise. And if you look at the other cruises, again, the Voyager of the Sea is down to $45. That does not include taking out breakfast. So if breakfast is $20, which that's a reasonable estimate of what the breakfast costs, then you take $20 away from that. So the Radiance would be $76 for the entire cruise. So once you've done that, you need to look at those prices, for example, the $76. Is the $76 worth it for all these benefits? So in other words, is it worth it to you to pay $76 so that you can get on the ship immediately, first thing in the morning? Is $76 worth it that you don't have to carry your carry-on luggage around on the ship until your room is ready, or your cabin, I should say? Is it worth it that you have reserved seating at shows so that you don't have to fight the crowds and get bad seats and so on? So basically, is that extra money worth arriving early, getting priority seating, not having to wait in line for ship activities? So that's what it comes down to. Is it worth it for that amount of money? For Kat and I, it's definitely worth it. Getting on the ship first thing, that alone is kind of worth it for us. The other thing is on the bigger ships, like the Oasis class, and I'm sure the Icon class, which I obviously haven't been on yet because it's not sailing yet. The not waiting in line for the events, for the activities, is fantastic. And the priority seating for the shows is unbelievable. So in our opinion, it's worth every penny, especially like on the Voyager of the Seas, where it's only costing us $25 extra for all those extra benefits. So there you go. Now it's up to you. Are you willing to spend that money for those things? If you are, sign up for it. If not, don't. And I've been on cruises that I haven't had a VIP program, and I did just fine. So that's it for now. See you guys in the next video.